A landmark trial since Meta wrapped up its first week, and it is looking to be yet another tumultuous legal battle for the tech giant. 4 states are seeking $200 billion from the company over claims it is contributing to the mental health crisis among young people by designing features that get children addicted to its platforms. The states are accusing Meta of harnessing, quote, powerful and unprecedented technologies to entice, engage, and ultimately ensnare youth and teens. Meta, of course, disputes the claims and argues the company was sensitive to the risks to teens and sought to address them, including posting warnings and resources at the top of Instagram search results related to suicide, self-harm, and eating disorders. Meanwhile, concern is growing over AI safety for children and is prompting the company OpenAI to create a new version of ChatGPT for teenagers. Joining us now is Megan Garcia, a Florida mom and child safety advocate. She says her 14-year-old son took his own life in 2024 after being lured by an AI chatbot created by an unrelated company. Garcia sued the company, Character AI, and Google, which settled her wrongful death suit earlier this year. And Character AI said they were taking steps to improve safety. Ms. Garcia, thank you so much for joining us. And all 3 of us, the whole show, is just so sorry for what happened to you and your son. It is as sad as it can be and disturbing in so many ways. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for telling your story and the work that you're doing now. As a parent who has gone through this and understands as better than the tech giants themselves about the ways in which children interact with the internet, interact with these technologies, what do you have to say to the folks who say that AI doesn't need to be regulated, that we don't need a bunch of guardrails because the growth and the ability for us to harness the technology for good outweighs the risks, despite the obvious risks?
I would say that we've seen the way that companies have released these products quickly and without proper testing. There is no other industry in the U.S. that releases products to children without pre-release testing. For some reason, big tech has been able to do this, and we've seen the devastation that's been left behind in its wake. AI is quickly emerging, and it has a lot of wonderful benefits, but I think we have to outweigh those risks of those benefits and weigh the risk against the harms that it could cause to our kids in the long run. And I think that we're seeing just the very beginning of that data and the very beginning of those cases coming out. And it's quite alarming.
Ms. Garcia, I want to echo everything Eugene said. I am raising a son myself now, and it's fairly terrifying trying to figure out the ways in which a parent can protect them against this kind of technology. OpenAI now says that they're going to introduce a special ChatGPT for teens, for users under 18. ChatGPT for teens applies age-appropriate safeguards designed to reduce exposure to content that may be harmful or developmentally inappropriate, while preserving the ability to learn, create, and explore. Does this seem to be enough from OpenAI to protect young people?
We've kind of seen this playbook from big tech before, where when children start being harmed, they start releasing teen accounts or parental controls. And what we've seen is that it's not very effective. One, parents have to know that their children are using the product to be able to set up those parental accounts. But beyond that, my question is like, why is OpenAI releasing these parental controls at this stage? They've been around for a while. Why didn't this kind of thing happen in a pre-release testing phase before a tragedy happened, like what happened to Adam Rain in California, dying by suicide after being groomed towards suicide by ChatGPT? Why did it take lawsuits for these companies to enact these kind of almost useless or baseless tools that we have no idea, one, if they're even going to work, and you have to take in a lot of things for it to actually work, including like parents knowing that their children are using ChatGPT for them to set up accounts to monitor, which I think, there should be a better way for us to guarantee safety. And if this is the only way, and if a better way, meaning designing the products better, and if they can't do that, they shouldn't be able to release their products to children.
Ms. Garcia, since your son's suicide 2 years ago, and you taking action and coming forward and giving voice to, I'm sure, untold number of parents who are going through this, I'm wondering, as you've been speaking out and as you've met other parents, what have you heard from them? And in talking to other parents, what advice would you give to parents right now who are trying to figure out how to keep their children safe while at the same time allowing them to be a part of the mix? Because whether we like it or not, these systems are going to be with us.
These systems are going to be with us. I think, though, for parents, obviously stay educated and make sure you understand, to the best of your ability, understand the tools that your children are using, because the companies, they're releasing them and they're not really requiring our permission, which is in itself a problem. They have a handful of very powerful people in Silicon Valley who are deciding for the rest of us and for our families what tools and access our children should have. But for parents, I would definitely say that we don't have to try as best to be educated, but also, we don't have to buy into this narrative that this is the only way, or that we can't demand better products or demand accountability. I think we can, and I think we should. We don't have to buy into this narrative that AI is inevitable. Yes, it's inevitable in a lot of ways, but as far as it comes to our families and whether or not our families we allow our children to use it, I think that's definitely something that we as parents, we could decide. And I think that any parent who looks into the information and the data on it would make a different decision than to allow their child to use it. As best as we can, try to imagine a world where AI serves humanity versus harms humanity. And, I still have two babies, a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old that I am raising. And the reason why I do this kind of advocacy is because I imagine a world for them that's still a wonderful world, that's pro-human, that's not being dictated by AI or dictated by people creating AI. And I would encourage parents to think along the same way.
Wow. Despite your loss, Megan Garcia, I am just blown away by your strength and your courage to tell your story. And I can guarantee you, as you probably already know, you are giving a lot of strength, but also hope and optimism to millions of Americans. Thank you very much for coming to The Weekend.
Thank you for having me.